Alright guys, how you guys doing? Welcome to Apple Weekly, number 51, the show where I cover everything Apple, just cover the latest stories going on the Apple sphere, hopefully get some feedback off you guys, or abuse in some cases. Broadcasting on both YouTube and iTunes, for those of you who travel to work by train, bus or whatever, and of course you've got nothing better to do but to listen to my dribble, then you can download it through your iTunes, sync it in with your podcast and so on, and you're good to go. Before we get started, I would very much appreciate if you can go into igear.com, check out the cool iPhone, iPod Touch, iPad clothing, such as, you know, the 22 range which has recently been released. 22 pockets, that's why it's called iGear 22. Pocket for pretty much everything. Pocket for this, pocket for that. Check it out, even if you're not going to get anything. I would appreciate if you can like it, tweet it out. That would be pretty fantastic. And you, sir, of course, would be a legend if you do so. The first story is there's going to be an Apple Media event. Don't you even think about it. It's not about the iPhone 5, it's not about the iPad 3 or the next generation MacBooks, or it's basically not a hardware related media event. Sad face, I know. Put it this way, it's a bit like the introduction of Ping. Does anyone still use Ping? But in all seriousness, quite a few people have confirmed as to what the actual event is going to be, and multiple different rumour websites have come back and said it's basically to do with the ibookstore, Apple and education, something to do with iTunes University. So yeah, it's not really much of a media event for the general consumer, although it's probably going to affect us in some way down the line in terms of software, as to how we kind of view textbooks and digital consumption of books and, you know, that kind of stuff. And of course Steve Jobs was quite involved, you know, in his biography he said he really did want to revolutionise the textbook and the book area, and that was one of his goals. So it kind of makes sense. Apparently this media event was meant to be held in 2011, late 2011, and it was postponed due to some issues. It's being held in New York, and the reason for that is because all the publications and all the kind of news outlets, or all the news related, you know, personnel can get to this event quite conveniently. It's not out their way elsewhere. This next story really isn't a story, but I still have put it into this segment because I thought it was kind of appropriate. It is actually pretty cool, hence why I've done it. It is basically a Steve Jobs figure. We've seen a few in the past, but this one is the most accurate out of all of them. It's retailing for about $100. Apple has supposedly, or Apple's legal team have supposedly reached out to this company who's manufacturing this in Hong Kong / China, and the company basically said, we're not going to stop manufacturing, it's legal. The guy has passed away, and it's causing a bit of a hoo-ha between legal and this company. But apparently they have shipped it out to most stores, or most people in the United States who paid for to be on the pre-order list, essentially. It's being shipped out pretty much worldwide. If you look on the eBay stores, it's about 140. There is a markup, or people are flogging it up and trying to make a quick buck of it. But if you go into their website, I believe it was sold out when I checked a few days ago, so you may get lucky. But it actually does look pretty cool. Whether or not you would pay $100 for a Steve Jobs figure, or wouldn't you rather get that poster bad boy right there? This next story is probably my favourite stories of the week, and essentially probably one of the favourite stories in relation to the iOS devices. Quad-core processors are making their way to iOS devices, and it's probably going to be as early as this year, come iPad 3, come iPhone 5 or 4S the second. But 9to5Mac managed to dig into the iOS 5 beta, the new one, and defensive coding and some references to quad-core chipsets, and they confirmed that with a few developers from within Apple, or a few sources shall I say, and it's been kind of confirmed that this reference is quad-core, baby. Now this really isn't a surprise, considering Asus just announced at CES that they're bringing out, you know, a quad-core tablet. So Apple, of course, does kind of want to be ahead, and they are ahead in terms of the tablet race, but in terms of hardware, sure, they could get that one more edge over other kind of, you know, manufacturers. And so really, what does this mean? This means we're going to see some really good optimized, or apps that are going to be useful to me. Final Cut Pro or Final Cut X would be really nice, and it's been rumoured that it is making its way to iOS devices. And yeah, Apple is trying to get everything, you know, iMovie's on here, so I don't know why they wouldn't port over Final Cut X. Hopefully it's going to be good. So really, the better the processor, the faster the processor, the quicker that your movie is going to get exported, and possibly even high-end games making their way onto the iOS devices. We've seen Grand Theft Auto making its way. So, you know, the better the processor, the huger the smile on our faces. But yeah, I think this is going to be the year where we see iOS devices, the iPad in specific, you know, content creation devices, or at least make a way or make a move towards that area. Right now it's just purely content consumption. You just read. You really don't want to be doing anything hardcore on it just because of the dynamic of an iPad. But you know, could this be the year? Faster processors, the software, again, really important as well. How easy is Final Cut Pro going to be? And staying on the topic of iPads, Digitime claims there's going to be 2 iPads this year. Remember, last year they said the same thing and it turned out to be false, so take for what this is as pretty much not going to happen. Digitime claims that the iPad 3 is just basically going to have a HD display and a better battery life. Nothing significant, because come the iPad 4 in October, that is supposedly going to be a game changer in terms of killer applications and really beat Android and all these, you know, applications that they're bringing out. So could we see Final Cut Pro X Octoberish time? I mean, they said the same thing last year and we didn't see 2 iPads, we just seen the one. And kind of adding to that, iLounge also said an iPad or a next generation iPad is due in March with a better front facing camera, FaceTime HD. The backside, the lens is going to be comparable to the iPhone 4S and 4. I've yet to actually see someone take a photo from an iPad. FaceTime, I can, you know, give it that one, but a rear facing camera, really. And they're also claiming that the iPad 3, or the next generation iPad, is going to be a bit thicker to accommodate the kind of bigger chips or meatier chips, you know, front facing camera. Would that be double in size? The processors, will that be require more kind of thickness? And if it's going to be a better battery life, do they need more battery space internally, or is it a new type of battery they're using? I guess time really will tell. And next up, Thunderbolt for iOS devices. Why did this not come out earlier, or why did it not come out for the 4S? Thunderbolt was launched in February on the MacBook Pros initially, and it was one of those exclusive things. So I was surprised not to see it in the iPhone 4S, but there's been information revealed that next generation iOS devices, or Apple has plans to introduce it sometime in the future, where your iPad, your iPhone, your iPod Touch will all be using Thunderbolt. Now, the advantages of that are faster syncing. That is one of the issues where I have, where when I'm going out the house, I want to put a track on my iPhone, I've just downloaded it, but it's taken ages to sync up, or at least I'm kind of impatient. And USB, it's really not that fast, you know. And iCloud has kind of made that a bit easier, so once you download the track, it automatically syncs it over to your iPhone and stuff. But it would still be nice to make the most of a Thunderbolt. You know, if I've got a Thunderbolt port here in my MacBook Air, why can I not use that? You know, it shouldn't really be that complicated. It's also suggested that somehow the Thunderbolt port would make your iOS device charge faster. I'm not too sure if that would be possible, or if there was some error in the article that I was reading. The Thunderbolt technology is only for data transfer, it only affects that. I'm not too sure how much powerage it transfers over. If you make, you know, it would be nice to see that, of course, because the iPad takes ages when you charge it using a USB, so it'd be nice to have that, you know, quickness in terms of, or zippiness in terms of charging your device. That would make things a hell of a lot easier, especially the iPhone 4S, where your battery is draining pretty much every day and you just want to pick up the Thunderbolt and it's increasing the speed. So I guess it's something that I'd like to see, but I can't see how that would work out. And before I go, I want to have this new addition in all future Apple Weeklies, where I kind of have an app of the week for the Mac, and today is going to be Motion FX. It's pretty much photo booth, but a bit more fun. Check it out, it's a free application, you're not having to pay for it. It's about 25 megs and it's only going to work online. That's kind of fun, so check it out. I'll try to have a mixture every week, so I have iPad applications, iPhone applications. But guys, that is it for this week in Apple. I hope you guys liked it. If you have any comments or abuse in general, or any comments related to the topics, feel free to share them below, and be good to get a wee debate going. Thanks very much for watching. Remember, you can watch this on iTunes. If you can leave a review on iTunes, that would be absolutely fantastic, and I would, again, very much appreciate if you could check out igear.com. I am also on twitter.com/i6glaswegian, got Facebook fan page, Facebook.com/iGlaswegian. Too many friggin' social networks, I realise. Guys, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Cheers! Looking to send a package at the lowest price possible? Simple. Visit parcelmonkey.co.uk, follow these 4 simple steps, have the package collected from your doorstep, and then sit back and relax.